Welcome to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network with your hostess, Jen Josey. Join like-minded real estate investors and accelerate your business towards greatness. You will hear step-by-step strategies for success, interviews with real estate rock stars, and we will dig deep into past projects where we bear it all, including the good, the bad, and some just plain ugly. So get excited. Here's the bestower of badassery herself, the real Jen Josey. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi, and welcome back. I'm Jen Josey, creator of RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Whoop, whoop. On today's episode, we have a guest that will be sharing their badassery. But before we begin, here's today's Badassery Bestowment, my little badass gift to you. Today's topic is the importance of using a Memorandum of Affidavit when wholesaling. In the wild world of wholesaling, locking up a deal is just the beginning. The real power move, protecting your interest with a Memorandum of Affidavit or MOA. This simple yet mighty document can be the difference between getting paid or getting played. Here are 5 reasons why you should never skip it. Number 1, locks in your contract rights. An MOA is recorded against the property title, ensuring that no one, seller, agent, or other investor can sneak around your agreement. It legally confirms that you have an equitable interest in the deal. Number 2, prevents seller backouts. Sellers sometimes get cold feet or find another buyer willing to pay more. The MOA makes sure that they can't walk away and cut you out of the deal without consequences. Number 3, blocks end runs by other investors. Ever had another wholesaler swoop in and try to steal your contract? With an MOA in place, title companies and buyers will see that you're the one holding the keys to the deal. Number 4, forces proper resolution. If the seller tries to bypass you, they'll have to deal with the cloud on title. That means they can't sell or transfer the property without clearing your claim, usually by paying you off or honoring the contract. Number 5, shows you mean business. Using an MOA establishes you as a serious investor who protects their interests. It sends a clear message: I play fair, but I play to win. So, wholesaling is all about control. The Memorandum of Affidavit is your legal safeguard against bad actors and broken promises. It's not just a piece of paper, it's your insurance policy on getting paid. Use it, protect your deals, and dominate your market. Now on to today's episode of the Real Estate Investor Growth Network podcast. We have with us RAIN member and return guest, Devinne Bravaco. Devinne is a dynamic entrepreneur, real estate investor, and design build expert known for transforming properties into stunning high-value spaces. As the owner and founder of Devinne Bravaco Designs and Devinne Bravaco Design and Build, she specializes in custom home building, luxury renovations, and strategic real estate investments. Her journey began in 2018 with a bold first project, tearing down a property to its foundation and rebuilding it into a modern masterpiece. With a background in event planning for top financial executives in Manhattan, Devinne honed her ability to manage complex projects and coordinate high-level teams, skills she now applies to real estate. Based in northern New Jersey, she leads a talented team of designers, delivering exceptional craftsmanship and visionary design to clients nationwide. Passionate about mentorship, she also serves on the advisory board at Rutgers University, shaping the next generation of industry leaders. I am honored to call her friend, so welcome to the show, Devinne Bravaco. Hello, friend. What are you doing? I miss you. Oh my goodness. So good to see your face. I wish I could reach into that camera and give you a huge hug.
I know. It's so great to be here today. Thank you for having me.
Well, absolutely. And you are a busy, busy lady, and I appreciate you giving the time to be back here with me. And I have to give a shout out to you because the reason I have a podcast is because of you, Devin, and you knew me well enough to push me out of my comfort zone and join this program that you were a part of years ago. And now I'm in my 5th season on this podcast, releasing every Monday. So I owe so much gratitude to you for pushing me out of my comfort zone and knowing that I needed podcasting in my life. So thank you, Devin.
I can't believe it's been 5 years. That's insane.
I
I
know.
remember like the first time I was like, no, you have to do this. Like with your personality, with all of your experience, with your teaching background, like you needed to be in front of people. And so I remember putting you on your first podcast actually, and
Yes.
you being super uncomfortable. And I was like, this is where you're going. This is going to be great for you.
Well,
So
I
I
do
appreciate
appreciate
you.
it.
Yeah, I'm glad
Yes.
that you trusted me, and I can't believe it's been 5 seasons, so that's
I
amazing.
know. It's wild. And it's
So proud of
I
you.
get I get to have awesome conversations with people like you almost every day. So thank you for that. All right. We are not here to talk about me and my podcast history. We are here to talk about you and all the amazing things you are doing. And so quick background on you and we met through Fortune Builders, which is an education program. And I think our first date, where do we go on our first date?
Hooters.
So, quick story for the listeners. I'm very adamant about when I go to events, if there's like a break, I try to find a random stranger to so I get to know more people. And I found you and I said, hey, I'm going to lunch. I have a car. You want to go? You're like, okay.
I
So,
was like, get me out of this place. And where are we going? We get in the car. You're like, we're going to Hooters. I'm like, okay. Who knew that years ago that it would create a lifelong friendship?
absolutely. And then we also coached together for Homeschooled by Tarek. By the way, have you been watching his new show, The Flip Off?
Wait, I actually love this show. I think it's
I
hysterical.
love
It's
it.
so good. I love their personalities really coming out and like the dynamic between them all. It makes me so happy. And obviously, just knowing Tarek and Heather from being from with Homeschooled, it just makes me like it warms my heart watching it. It makes me, I'm so happy to watch it. I love it.
I love the design on it. So
Yeah.
there, because that's one of the big judging factors is design. So let's jump into design stuff here. But give us a quick background. I know you as a real estate investor, but you just always had amazing taste for design and just had this eye where I was like, oh my gosh, I would have never thought to do that. And you have now changed direction in your business life and you now own a design company. So tell us about the transition from real estate investor into doing design.
It really has been such a crazy journey, and I'm so grateful for it. I'm so grateful for every little part that got me into it. Even Homeschool by Tarek, you actually brought me into homeschooled, so I thank you for that introduction as well. When I first started building or started in real estate, honestly, the first house I knocked it down to the foundation and I rebuilt it, and I had no idea what I was doing. I literally knocked it down, and then like that pit you get in your stomach, like I will never forget the first project when I walked up to the project and there was no house, and I'm like, I invested this money and I own this property and there is not a property here, so I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
That is so
And
funny.
so when I started, I remember my contractor asking me for terms that like I didn't know. He was like, "Do you want bull nose here? And like, should we do 2x4 or 2x6? Or should we do like, should we color the mortar?" And I'm like, I don't know what any of that means. And so was so embarrassed to actually say that I didn't know what it meant. So what I did was I just went to every vendor possible and asked them to teach me their craft. And so I really just fell in love with the process. I fell in love with the different textures, the different colors, kind of being a little bit more creative and not doing what everyone was doing. I think the biggest thing was when I first got started, you had to be different in order to sell. And so if you wanted to get a higher price, you had to be elevated in your design. And so I just wanted to learn everything. And so I just kept like learning and diving into things and being creative and trying different things. And I learned very early on that I see very differently. And I remember trying to share what I was seeing to somebody else, and they couldn't visualize what I was explaining. And it honestly was really frustrating to me because I'm like, how do you not see what I'm talking about? And it was in that moment that I realized, like, wow, I actually see things differently and I can visualize things and I can see the end picture when I'm looking at a house that is no longer there. And so it kind of was like an aha moment for me very early on. And it kind of just expanded throughout the years. I continued flipping houses. I'm in New Jersey, and so I was doing million-dollar flips and putting all this money into these big projects. But I kept getting asked questions from other people if I would design a home for them. And I always thought people were crazy. I'm like, I appreciate that you're asking me that, but I almost felt like it was like a pity ask. And I would kind of laugh it off. And I'd be like, you don't want me. Like, I went to school for like communications and human resources. I don't know design. Like, I didn't go to school for architecture or interior design. And as I continued on, like, I just kept going more and like more and more and deeper and really understanding it. And so when I finally said okay to helping somebody else with their design project, I realized how much I loved it. And so within the past couple years, I've been focusing more on that. And then within the last year, I fully launched my design business, which has taken off very quickly, very, very rapidly, and honestly, more than I have ever dreamt of. So very, very fortunate and feel very grateful. So thank you.
Well, I am so proud of you and have been watching your journey, and you are truly just amazing and your design skills, I just got to say. So, but to back up, you said something about visualizing for people and how they can't vision things. And what we do in real estate as investors is we stage properties, because people walk into a space and go and have no clue, where it's so natural for some of us to be like, well, this is where the Christmas tree goes. This is where the TV goes. You know what? This is how you carry in your groceries. Or so I'm just putting that out there, that a lot of times we have to stage things to help people with those designs. But I want to start getting into working with retail clients. And when you're designing your own projects, it is very easy to have that vision and bring it to life. But what's it like working with homeowners, like their personal styles and their preferences? Is that hard for you?
It's a different animal, I will say. I feel like when I was designing for myself, I didn't have to be as organized.
Ah,
Organization and my creative brain, I would say, don't go hand in hand sometimes. And I could, I knew, because I could visually see it, I knew what I was going to choose moving forward, but I didn't have to make those decisions right then. So I was able to be laxed and get those decisions down the road when I needed them. Whereas working with retail clients, it is very emotional, and a lot of times my bigger role is not necessarily designing their spaces, but it's actually explaining the process to them and emotionally helping them through the process, because a lot of times fear comes into everything. And so when there's something that you don't know a lot about, instead of like asking a lot of questions or getting farther in it, a lot of times fear ends up taking over. And so a big part of my job is explaining what the steps are and foreshadowing what, or seeing ahead of what the fear is going to come. And so trying to get ahead of that to maintain the relationship that we have, and also help them understand the process so that they feel comfortable. And then we can have not high emotionally conversations.
well,
uh,
I have to give you a shout out for that, because I do not have the patience to work with homeowners at all. I didn't even want to get my real estate license. I made Vance get his real estate license because I don't have the patience of dealing with those emotions. And so very good point. And you, Devin, I'm sure are so good at balancing that. So here's the next question. So how do you manage expectations? I love this question. How do you manage expectations when a homeowner's dream design doesn't match their budget?
Yeah. What I have learned, what I have learned is try from the beginning, a lot of times someone will call us and they will say, "Hey, can you give me an idea of the budget of what this will cost?" And I hate that question because it could be so many different ways, but it really is it I never give the answer for that. My process is going and understanding what realistically they want, what they're envisioning, and a lot of times because they don't know what they want, it's up to me to ask like the probing questions to get down deeper to understand that like you are not going to get the space that you want for $100,000. If you want this space, this is what you will get. But if you want this elevated over the top space, it's not going to cost that. And so it's for me to ask the probing questions before giving a budget because it's really hard and it honestly it leads you down a bad path. And I feel like you have to start the project off with trust and with a lot of very clear cut communication in the beginning. Otherwise, you're just starting a disaster from the beginning.
Oh my goodness. I mean, like I said, I'm breathing heavy through your comment here because, and to take it a step further, there's so much money to be made in the design industry. And so sometimes I'm like, God, I wish I had the patience to deal with that because our kitchen here cost us about $45,000 to put together as investors, but the same kitchen somewhere else cost our neighbor who has a almost identical kitchen over $120,000. And I was like, you paid what? And then I'm like, Vance, we are the wrong industry. But again, to me, it's headaches. But to you, you have that patience. You have that really deep understanding of the fear that goes into it. And that's really what I think makes people kind of freak out is they get scared and of making decisions. And you are a great person to hold their hand through the process. So have you ever had, did you want to say something on that?
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say a big part of it too is like when I was an investor, I felt like I had to do everything black and white. Like I had to have it so like catered to the masses. So like
Right.
my creative process was almost being like held tight because I couldn't be creative in certain ways. So when I started launching my new businesses, I have like a design and build business, which for me, I can be so creative, over the top, like out of the box, like different ideas because it's retail clients who want that and they challenge me to be even more creative so that I can elevate their space to what they aren't really articulating, but I know that that's what they want. And so the design and build process is wonderful because we're working with the retail clients. And then on top of it, I have a contractor and a crew that work exclusive for me. And so we're able to do the build out. And so it makes it so nice because we are able to balance both worlds and knowing that whatever design I'm able to propose, I know that it will be executed flawlessly because we manage that. On the flip side, the design business, like I design for investors and retail clients.
Oh,
And so a big part of it is a lot of investors, as you probably know, a lot of investors don't want to choose those or make those decisions. And so when you are working on bigger projects, so when you're in the ARV, the after repair value of a house, in my area of 1 million to let's say 2.5 million, the the product that you produce has to be to a certain standard. And so if you are an investor and you're smart with your business decisions, it doesn't necessarily mean that you know how to design a house that will be a product that you'll be proud of for $2.5 million that somebody would pay that amount of money for. And so a big part of the business is also putting together design packets for investors. And so that part of the business, it's very different because you are still managing emotions, but it's more based off of the budget because as an investor, your bottom line is determined to see how much money you're going to make at the end of the project.
Right.
And so we're challenged with designing an elevated space that is beautiful, but also keeping to the budget so that they can still make a good amount of money in their ROI, their return on investment. And so it's funny because to answer your questions on emotions and dealing with it, I'm kind of dealing with different emotions every day, depending on who my client I'm working with at that moment.
Okay, so my listeners are flippers new to the business with limited budgets, as you said. So, how do you approach budget conscious designs without compromising quality?
Ooh, I love that question. A lot of design, honestly, is texture. It's about colors. It's about sizing and like proportion of things. So, like, if you have just a hypothetical, right? If you have a 10-foot island, 10-foot long island, and you're putting a 4-inch light above the island, proportion wise, it's going to look, the scale is going to be off.
Right.
And so, a lot of it is really just about knowing based off of the space that you have what size do you need in different places? And what is the scale that you're looking at? Because when your eye sees it, a lot of times you don't realize what is wrong with it. Something's wrong. And so even if you're on like a very tight budget, you can still have an elevated space and you can still buy a light fixture for under $100,
Right.
but the size of the light fixture really matters. And there's so many different things that go into that. And even just like colors, like, yes, mixing metals, you can mix metals, but how many metals can you mix until it's like you're walking into a crayon store, right? There's so many different things that kind of go into it. And there's a lot of like science and math behind design, which it's interesting because it's you don't think of it when you look at a house, right? And you look at a house and you're like, that's beautiful. If you see like a tile, like it's a ceiling that's very low, but you see a tile that's vertical, it actually helps your eyes look up. It makes your space look a little bit bigger. If you put the tile horizontally, you wouldn't know that something looks off, but you kind of feel like you're in a dungeon. And so there's
Interesting.
little decisions like that that we make for the clients that they don't necessarily know, but when the product is complete, it looks like a masterpiece. And that is honestly like the end result. That's what we want.
And huge that you said all that, and the fact that you incorporate science and math, like you don't think of it that way, but it's really the aesthetics of walking in and the how it makes you feel. So it all even ties back into emotion. So I have a quick game for you, Devin, and I've only done this one other time, so this could be a totally bad idea to do these, but I love this. This is for me personally because you are my girl. I'm working on a $1 million house right now. We're doing a new build. So the game is yay or nay, and I'm going to throw out some buzzwords, some design features, and I just want quick rapid fire yay or nay. And if there's anything where I'm like, we're gonna have to go back and discuss. All right, so here we go. Devinne Bravaco playing yay or nay. I feel like I need a soundbite for this, which I don't have one, but all right, yay or nay. Here,
Okay.
ready? Here we go.
Yeah.
Wallpaper,
Love. Yeah.
barn doors,
Nay.
splash rooms.
What is a splash room? Like
That's
a
where
wet
the
room?
like there's glass and there's the tub and the shower like in the same space.
Oh, a wet room. Love.
Wet room.
Yay.
Sconces,
Yay.
shiplap,
Nay.
open shelving,
Depends on where.
quartz countertops,
Yes.
repetitive materials,
Absolutely not. It kills me.
smart mirrors,
Depends on where, but yes,
Bold accent walls.
as long as it's classy and
Yay
not
or nay? Yay or
tacky.
nay?
There's a middle.
Floating vanities.
Yes.
Matte black features.
Yes, if it's not just black. I have a lot of in-betweens.
Outdoor kitchens.
Yeah.
Word art.
We're not doing that. If we're furnishing, maybe. Yes.
All white kitchens.
No.
Exposed beams.
Depends on where. But
Industrial elements.
not really.
Two-tone cabinets.
Yeah, if it's subtle.
Mixed metals.
Yeah.
Arched doorways.
I love an artist.
Love. Me too. Hidden pantries.
Yes.
Mixed textures.
100%.
Farmhouse.
No.
Fluted details.
I love a flute.
Murals.
No.
Edison bulbs.
Eh.
And the last one, checkerboard floors.
Yes.
I am loving them. I don't have the courage to do it though in a flip because I feel like it's very drastic. But I love a black and white checkered tile, like especially at an entrance. All right, thank you for playing that game. So
That was fun. I like that. I have a lot of in-between answers, so I didn't really play well to the game, but I appreciate it.
So there's some good rapid fire there. So what in there stuff so like wallpaper is on my brain because we're talking about the flip off and they are using wallpaper and it's expensive actually. So what do you have to stay away from when using wallpaper? Let's start there.
Yeah, I think wallpaper can, especially, okay, if you're flipping, right? I think that wallpaper can elevate texture. It can bring a color into your space. I don't think that you need to go like the crazy geometric and like the boldness to it. The idea of wallpaper is to elevate a space and more so with like the texture and color. I think there's sometimes when wallpaper could be like a big mural, and maybe that makes sense. Like if you're building your own nursery or you are building a space for yourself. But when you're flipping, it doesn't necessarily make sense. I also think like going too bold sometimes can be a really big miss on that. And then also it depends on like what quality you're getting. So yes, you can spend so much money on wallpaper. You can also get wallpaper, I think it's like 129 bucks from like Pottery Barn. And like their
Oh,
wallpaper is really nice. And so like if you do like a seagrass or you do some sort of texture to it that just adds a little bit to the wall, the idea of design is that you don't necessarily see everything, but altogether it makes sense. And so if it's like subtle enough that it's not in your face, that's the biggest win.
very good. And I also want to get into talk about sconces. So I am seeing, and this was also in a recent episode of the Flip Off. Sorry, I keep referencing this. It's just on my brain. And
Yeah,
we have our
I love
connections
it.
with Tarek and Heather.
Yeah.
So they're doing hanging lights in the primary suite over where like the nightstands are, and as opposed to sconces. And I actually have sconces going in there now, but should I change it to have like overhead hanging lights in that area?
Honestly, I like both. I think it really
Okay.
depends on like the space. I love like a sconce, like when it's on your entertainment wall or like in
Yes.
your dining room, or I will use sconces versus an overhead light in a bathroom. So like I think it's so pretty when you have two sconces next to like your mirror for your bathroom. I mean, you can obviously do it in your master. I would say, generally speaking, I do it more on accent walls versus it being like that's like your nightstand light.
Gotcha.
But you can kind of do both. Like I really think it depends on the space. Also, like if you're in your primary bedroom, like are your ceilings vaulted? Is it a tray ceiling? Is it just a regular ceiling? Like
It's a
what
tray.
elements
It's a
kind of
tray
go in?
ceiling.
Okay, okay. So if it's a tray ceiling, it might be nice to hang something. It might
Okay.
be nice to kind of add some sort of depth to it, but I think it really depends on everything altogether.
All right, another one that I mentioned was the smart mirrors. And I actually have one in my house and I hate it because it doesn't get bright enough. You think you have those ones where it's like a lighted mirror on your tabletop one, and that's how I put my makeup on. So I'm like, I'm going to get one for the wall and have it. It doesn't do jack, by the way. So, and I have heard the same complaint about them, but you have the little different mood lightings and it doesn't fog up when the shower isn't going on. It's the steam. And so are there any other techniques? Because I've also seen like the mirrors that have the lights behind them.
I was just gonna say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you
I
recommend
actually
that?
really
Okay.
like them because they don't look, one of the things about like an LED mirror, like a smart mirror, is usually you see like that strip around it and you see like the
Right.
little buttons. And so like sometimes it's just not, I don't know, it's just kind of there. And you're like, I wish like it wasn't there. And so the ones that have the lights behind it, it kind of adds like a mood lighting to it and it aesthetically looks nice from the outside. So I do really like it. I also think like you can play with whether, so say it's like a double vanity, a double sink vanity, maybe like you do one mirror that goes throughout everything versus having like two or three mirrors at a time. And then that is like a mood lighting, like that also is really cool. Yeah, I mean, I think it's really just about mixing and matching and figuring out the space specifically, but I do like them.
Very cool. And yes, I'm definitely going to go that route next because like that's just so stupid. So, out of my list of things that I rattled off there quickly, are there any other that you can think of, any others that you can think of that are big no-nos in design?
I mean, I'm gonna reiterate one that you brought up because it drives me crazy, but like reusing materials. Like it bothers me so much if your kitchen, like when you think of what sells a house, it's kitchens and baths, right?
Right.
It bothers me so much if you're using the same material you have in your kitchen in like your laundry room or in your mud room. Like your kitchen is supposed to be like this special, over the top, beautiful, warm space that's inviting. Like your kitchen is like the home of the house, I always say. And I think that bothers me. The other thing is also bathrooms. If you're reusing a bathroom, like just because you design one bathroom doesn't mean that you reuse that in every space.
Gotcha.
Like change it, be different, like be creative, use your creative energy to elevate the space so that like yes, can you use the same white penny tile that's in one bathroom somewhere else? You can. But like do you want to use the same black and white herringbone and the penny tile and this shit like the vertical subway tile? Like I would say no. That's
Gotcha.
kind of where you get into, I think the word or the phrase that as investors we hear a lot is like builder grade. And the biggest
Correct.
thing is that you want to stay away from builder grade. You want to produce a product that is elevated from that so that someone doesn't come in thinking they're just buying this like builder grade home that they're then gonna have to customize. And I think those are little things that can easily take you from builder grade to custom.
Well, I am guilty of doing that, but the most that I've done though, honestly, is I've taken the backsplash tile and maybe threw it in a niche. Like that's it. Like, cause I love the backsplash tile in the kitchen and then I'm just throwing it in a little niche somewhere else, but totally
Okay.
different. I
I
know,
mean,
but I am guilty of doing that. But it's more for the lower type homes that are more builder grade that you would buy. So
Is all relative, obviously. If you're producing a product that isn't a $1 million plus project and you have leftover tile, like sometimes it just makes sense to use it. But at least for what you're doing there, you're not using it as the focal in every room.
right. Exactly.
You're putting it in a small little area, it's okay. Like, do I always say like it's nice to change things? Even like when you're thinking of like the hardware that goes into your bathrooms, like it sounds silly, but your toilet paper holder, your hand towel like ring or bar, change them. It doesn't have to be the same in each bathroom.
Yep.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that somebody will walk in and know that, wow, I used this Delta champagne bronze in the powder room, in the master, in the hallway ensuite, like, or the hallway bathroom. Like, it doesn't mean that, but like, it doesn't mean that a champagne bronze is going to go with each tile selection you have in each bathroom. Like, change it. Be creative, be a little different, and like that'll help also elevate you from builder grade to custom.
Very excellent advice. Thank you for that. And I am finding that I have to make more decisions now when I'm doing these higher end homes. And it does hurt a little bit, I will be honest. Like, try to think ahead of what's going to kind of go to the masses, but still also be custom in the meantime. So, last question on design stuff while I have my expert here. Flooring in these higher end homes. We just had a parade of homes here in Raleigh, and I was shocked. Every house was using LVP, like the wider plank LVP, and it was gorgeous, and it was a much higher quality than the clickety clack ones. When you walk on them, you totally know that you're walking on LVP.
Yeah, you
But
feel like you're like floating at
yes,
times. Yeah.
exactly. So, what are you seeing in high end homes as far as flooring? Do you have LVP up there as well, or
The only time we're really using LVP is when it's on a concrete slab. So like in a
okay,
basement, or like if the first floor is on concrete. On concrete, you can also use engineered hardwood.
right?
You just can't use solid because obviously you can't nail it into it. I mean, honestly, a lot of times we're using engineered or solid. I would say that like traditionally speaking, we were seeing like the big 5 inch, 7 inch planks at one point. I'm seeing a lot more of like the 3 1/4 inch plank,
Really?
but it being like a white oak and it being a solid hardwood. So you're kind of able to still produce the quality and you still have the oak look. But a lot of times it also depends on like install. So like one of my biggest things is, or my pet peeves is that I can design a house and I have like these renderings or like literally a 300-page presentation and an Excel spreadsheet that you have to scroll a million times of every item that goes into this house. I can give you a full 100-page presentation of every rendering for this house, but it's execution in the end. And it's sometimes really hard. So like LVP, for example, how we were just kind of joking how like you can be floating. If the floor isn't level and if you're not putting anything underneath it, you're gonna get that wave. You're gonna get that you're walking kind of like on the moon. And so like a lot of it is execution in the end. And it's sometimes really, it could be really frustrating if we're just designing a space and not doing the build. But obviously, giving as much direction as we possibly can will help alleviate that.
Very good. And it was just shocking to me because we would normally in higher end homes do solid wood floors. And we were like, sweet, we get to save money on this now. It's about half the cost to do that. Another random one was fireplaces that we saw. We had a $10,000 budget for our fireplaces. We had two in this house, and to have gas run in and do the gas logs and everything. But no, all we had to do was frame out for an electric fireplace, like the long, skinny, super sexy ones, because everyone's putting their TV above it anyway. So that saved. I mean, it really cost us $600 as opposed to
Yeah.
10,000. So
Yeah.
huge savings there. And I love how it looks. I think it's super sexy, and you can change the colors and the mood on those electric fireplaces. So I digress. But back to you, Devin. Thank you for sharing all your insight on the different design features and what's cool and not cool. So my question for you is, how have your design, your taste in design, how has it evolved since you started back in 2018?
That's such a great question. I love that question. I look back at my first project and there's still things that like I'm very proud of, but there's also things that like now make me cringe. Like my first project, and I mean obviously like the trends I would say were a little different then, but like my first project had a cooktop and it was a fully white kitchen. Everything in the house was white. And gray and white.
Ugh,
Everything was gray. And I'm so glad grays are out. But like
yes.
at the time, that was huge. And so everything was gray. I didn't understand like the finishes. So like a satin finish when you're putting polyurethane on something. Like I didn't understand like the overall look. So I feel like so many things were shiny. And then like subway tile too, like yeah, your white subway tile is pretty, but like at one point I feel like that's what you used everywhere. And so what I would challenge people to do too is no matter what the tile is, think of the different ways that you can lay the tile because it'll elevate your space. There's so many different ways you can like lay your tile differently than your typical brick lay. And I think that and I'm trying to think what else. I remember my first one too. I tried to be super creative and I had the water for the tub in the primary bathroom. I had it come from the ceiling.
I remember this one.
And like I thought it was like the coolest thing, but like it splashes everywhere and like the tile on the floor was a polished marble, so it's super slippery. So I think like I think if I'm like grading myself, I would say I didn't really think through the execution of things, and I don't think I thought through like practicality, right? Like if you're putting this on the floor and then you have water coming from the ceiling, like you're gonna fall. And so like I'm actually really good friends with the person who bought my first flip, which is funny. And like we talk about like the water all the time and like changing the water to be like a normal faucet versus coming from the ceiling. Um, and he's a good friend of mine, and like I've actually helped him kind of like redo different parts of his house now to be like his home and to be custom to himself. But yeah, it's definitely funny kind of seeing those different trends that I would say were very basic in the beginning.
Right. Like the gray and the white. Yes, that
Oh
was
my gosh.
to the masses and very boring. Yes, agreed.
And I
So
painted the whole house. Oh, sorry.
go ahead.
I painted the whole house like one color also. Like I do like to play with colors now. And like, yes, can you paint like most of the house the same color? You can. But like my first house, I painted every like the base molding, the crown molding, the doors were white. And then the walls were gray. Like it didn't change. Every wall was gray.
Right.
And so I like being able to play with colors now and put color on the ceiling or change as much as you possibly can without, especially as you're an investor, as you can't be choosing like 15 colors and think that you're going to get the same price from your painter. So like being a little bit creative in it, but also not breaking the budget.
Huge. And I want to wrap up this first portion of the podcast here with I've seen you totally transform your business. And again, so proud of you for all you have done. What is next for Devinne Bravaco?
That's a great question. Honestly, I'm just really proud of what I've created. So really want to scale it now. I have a wonderful team now. I have 5 designers that work for me that
Wow.
help produce everything. I have an office manager who is incredible. And as I kind of mentioned before, is like my brain works in a creative mind. And I also I thrive on site and I thrive like meeting new clients and all of that. And so she honestly is able to organize everything for me and manage deadlines and everything. So it's really wonderful how we're able to balance that. I've also built an all women's team and I'm very proud of that. And it's something that like I really wanted. And so when I'm able to create it, like it makes me excited. We create a space and it's something that like I mentioned to the girls every day is that I want the space to be creative and supportive and encouraging and exciting. And then it gives us the opportunity to produce like over the top designs. And so we're always collaborating with one another. One of the girls actually wrote to me yesterday just being like, I feel very grateful to work here, and I'm very inspired by how much you are always pushing us to be positive and to find solutions versus like complain about things. And that's something that it warms my heart because I'm able to create that environment now. And it's really awesome. And I love our team. And so my my overall what's next is really just to scale it. I feel like there's so many more investors that we can help design and get a better ROI. I feel like there's so many homeowners that we can really make their space their own, especially today because of the market and everything. We're finding a lot more homeowners want to put a lot of money into their home that they have versus moving and buying something new.
Right. Yep.
And so trying to help them in those situations to create the space that they want versus moving. And so honestly, it's just to continue to scale. Like I love what I'm doing. I love who I'm surrounded by. I feel very blessed and grateful. And I feel like you obviously know my journey, and I feel like there was some bumps in the road. And I definitely went through a lot of hard times, but I feel like through the hard times, like I found my calling and I'm able to use everything that I've learned now and kind of share that with like my team. And it really it excites me a lot. So I'm just excited to scale it and see where it goes from here.
Well, I am so proud of you, Devin, and you deserve the best because I do know that rocky road you've been on. And I'm just so proud to see that you've come out on top and just really you're creating this dream for other people too that are in your business and guiding them. And I love that. And I'm not surprised to hear it at all that you are getting those kudos from your employees. So for the listeners out there that have questions or maybe want to work with you on designs, how would they find you? What services do you provide nationwide? Because you said you're virtual now. So what can the listeners do to reach out and get in touch with you and work with you?
Yeah, of course. We have so many different options now, which is wonderful. Like having a team that like I own that we work together, we're able to produce so many different things. So we do virtual design. We've created spaces, even if it's just like consulting on a kitchen. I was on a phone call with someone, I don't even know where they were, maybe in Colorado. Honestly, I don't know, but I had a call with them just last week, and we've done like spaces in California, we've done spaces in upstate New York, like we've done so many different projects, and it could be just something like you want to pick my brain, or you want us to design a kitchen, or you want us to design your full house. Like there's so many different options. We also have like our favorites, and so you can easily just purchase like you like this kitchen design, here's all the SKUs for it. So you can
Ah,
purchase different pieces now that are one of my kitchens I designed 2 years ago. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten comments from like, I don't even know where, like, how these people find me, but I've had so many people reach out asking me, what tile was that? What color grout did you use? All this different stuff. And so I packaged different items that I was getting a lot of questions on so people can just purchase that design and use it for their own. But yeah, we do anywhere from designing a kitchen to full homes. So it's really been fun to be able to help so many different people and just really expand off of it.
again, so proud of you. And I know I have spent many times picking your brain, which is another reason why I wanted you on the podcast today, so I could pick your brain. So thank you for that. All right, we are going to move into the second part of the podcast here, which is what makes Devinne Bravaco a badass. And I use the acronym BADASS, and the first letter is B for book. What's a book that's made a huge difference in your life?
Ooh, I love that. Uh, I'm gonna go with a book that I'm reading right now, actually. I really love it, and it's really taken like a big impact on me. It's Jamie Kern Lima's book. So Believe It was the first one, and I'm reading Worthy right now.
I
And both
have
of them
Worthy
I
too.
love. Ooh,
Yes.
okay. I love that book. It's really, I've heard her speak, and I just love her, and I love her vulnerability. And I feel like it's something that like I try really hard to be vulnerable on the good and the bad, and I really just love her, and it's been really helpful. I feel like we all have like that imposter syndrome at times, like wondering if this is the right journey for me. And I mean, like I kind of
Yep.
went on like a hiatus for a little bit and just did my own thing, just trying to figure out like what was next for me. And so those books have really helped me kind of evolve into who I am now.
Huge. And you can't miss the bright silver when, walking
I
through the
know,
store for
right?
Worthy.
I know. I have Believe It here and Worthy like on that, but yeah.
All right. The first A in badass is for advice. You've given us excellent advice today, but what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Mm, be yourself.
Ooh,
I think something I've really struggled with is comparing myself to other people. I think a lot of times, like, I look at people who went to design school and spent years learning, and I'd be like, there's no way that I can do this. Like, I'm not them, but I am me. I'm who I am, and I've learned a lot along the way, and I just getting little nuggets here and there for my team or for my clients, like encouraging me or thanking me for the overall product that we're able to produce. It makes me so excited because you can have your own journey. You don't have to have somebody else's journey. And I think a lot, uh, I think for a while I struggled with feeling like I had to be like this tough skin and put like this like armor on me and like take everything and be like rude and mean and not mean but like
assertive.
especially yeah, there you go. As like a woman in like a male dominated industry when we're building, a lot of times like you're looked over, and for me, I felt like I almost went down that rabbit hole for a bit. And thankfully, I caught myself. And like, I am Devin. I'm kind. I am nice. I am supportive. I'm encouraging. And so being yourself is really important. And don't let like somebody else change that part of you.
Excellent advice. Be you. I love that. All right. The D in badass is for drive. What drives you to be successful?
Uh, Honestly, so much. I will say like a big shout out to like my boyfriend. My boyfriend is like the most supportive, encouraging person of me. He's always cheering me on. He always has something positive and like enlightening to say. If I'm struggling with something, he'll help me like see both sides of it. And honestly, like a drive is just like our future family. Like my parents who have been there for me through every up and every down. And so my dog, like spending more time with my dog. Are you kidding me? My dog comes everywhere with me. He's sitting
Mac.
at my feet currently. So yeah, my drive is honestly just my family, my team, knowing that like these people are trusting in me. And so it's up to me to continue to get more clients and continue to grow the business so that they can continue to make more money so that they can feed their families. And so honestly, it's just family. In the end, that's what it comes down to.
Very good. And yes, Mabel, my dog, her boyfriend is Macaroni because
I
she
know.
that there's a picture that pops up every once in a while on my hub, my Google hub, and it's the two of them on the bed and they're like la la la. All right.
Mm,
The
I love that picture.
they're so cute. All right, the second A in badass is for aspiration. I'm a big goal setter. So what is a goal you are currently working on?
Ooh, a goal that I'm currently working on. For me, it's just scaling. A big goal my this year is honestly to not to go into the nitty-gritty, but to be able to help more people, especially like design projects. For the design and build right now, we're booked up until probably September.
Wow.
Yeah, so like my goal is to be able to plan farther out versus things be so short notice that we have to scramble. And so by getting in with an investor when they get under contract or when they just close versus when they're sheetrocking. Or, I mean, drywall day is the best day ever,
It's the
but
best day. Drywall
um,
day.
yes, but trying to get an investor client in from the very beginning to show them and for them to also see what value we bring. So being able to scale that and to help more people, especially as like the team that I'm building continues to grow, we're able to help more people. So really it's just scaling. And then design and build it is about trying to get it booked farther out so that we can plan things so that the execution process goes much easier and seamlessly.
Huge. All right. So that goes into my next question here is the first S in badass is for systems. So for
Mm.
you to be that far in your calendar, what systems do you have in place to help you achieve success?
What's funny as my brain doesn't necessarily work in that organized way. However, what I've noticed is being a business owner and running a team, is that I have to have systems, because systems will like
Yes.
literally destroy you. And so we have, I think it's literally like a 20-page SOP that goes through the whole process from the time that somebody reaches out to inquire about our services to the time that we have gone on site, presented all of the design process, and then also have a full guidelines, like silly things like make sure you're following the electrical plan. So where there's a light, we make sure we give them a light. Like silly things like that. We do have guidelines, we have processes, we have a lot of automations, and a big shout out to, I have these ideas, but a big shout out to my assistant, who is the one who then implements these ideas that I come up with at like 3 o'clock in the morning and message her for. So every day when she starts her day, she has something new that I thought of in the middle of the night. So really grateful for her for that.
That's a system right there, is hiring an assistant, and
Yes.
it's that who, not how, and putting that you have some disorganization with the way your brain works. And so you found the right person to organize that for you. I think that's an excellent, excellent system. All right. I could talk to you all day, sister. I've missed you, but the final S in badass is for success. What does success mean to the ever fabulous Devinne Bravaco?
Ooh, I feel like if you asked me that many years ago, I would have a very different answer than today.
I
Um,
agree with that statement.
yeah. Success for me, honestly, is happiness. It's being able to live without like complete stress every day. Live knowing that like I'm helping other people. Live knowing that I'm able to get like to show who I am to other people, and to also help them in my craft, right? I'm my biggest thing is when a client comes to me and they trust me. They trust me fully, and they know from the products that I'm able to produce that I have their back. I have their best interest at heart, and to just let me kind of do my thing, and I will make sure that their product is amazing overall. And then really success is just building a team that like I am not the bottleneck, right? It's able to, I have a design lead now who, she's wonderful. And so the other team members, as they're designing stuff, like she checks it before I get it. And so when I'm seeing the overall, it's almost to a part that like I don't have to go through every slide of the 300-page presentation. And so for me, it's knowing that like it almost sounds weird, but that I'm not needed as much. Like it's still my business, but I have given my vision, my processes, everything so that everyone could just run with it and be able to succeed on their own as well. So, yeah, it's just about happiness now and creating a life that I've always wanted and a family I've always wanted, and yeah, all those fun things.
Well, I am happy to see you so happy and just glowing, and really found what makes you happy as well, as far as being in the design business. So before we exit here, how do the listeners find you? Do you have a website? How does all that work?
Yeah, so everything's very simple now. You can find me on Instagram or Facebook. It's literally my first and last name, Devinne Bravaco. My email address is hello@devinbravaco.com. And my website should be published, I think, next month fully, but it's literally www.devinbravaco.com. So everything is very simple now. Yes, you have to learn how to spell my name, but other than that, you can find me very easily. So very grateful to be here, and grateful to help other people.
And if you are listening while driving, it's Devinne, and Bravaco is Bravoco, like Bravo with a co at the end. So, Devinne, I am so thrilled for you. I'm so happy to see, again, you happy. And thank you so much for sharing your badassery today. And I love you. I can't wait to see you again. So thank you for being here.
Thanks so much for having me. It was so nice to catch up and to be able to share with your listeners. So super proud of all that you're producing.
Well, thank you, friend. All right. Well, that is all. Thank you for listening. We will catch you on the next episode. Now go out there and share your badassery. And don't forget, make it a great day. Take care. Bye-bye. Whoop, whoop.
Thank you for listening to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. If you need more badassery, you can follow Jen Josey by visiting therealjenjosey.com or become a member of RAIN by registering on rainmastermind.com.